Mr. Joseph Beaumont McDowell. Very good to see you, sir. May I ask you for your position?
Thank you, Honorable AG. Well, I'm a member of the public at large, and I'm here to represent, hopefully, the public interest. And first of all, I'd like to begin by thanking you, sir, and all of the members of the panel for providing this opportunity, which I think is a sterling effort in trying to deliver accountability and participation. And I'd like to urge your administration to behave like President Obama's administration. We don't know if the Republicans win the White House, even if Hillary Clinton wins the White House, whether the rapprochement with Cuba will continue. But President Obama has set something in train and will dare those who come after him to do likewise or do differently. And if you don't have a majority, a special majority in Parliament, take whatever administrative steps are necessary to get the job done, and then let's wait to see what happens in the next election. And I would like to begin with the premise that everything that is necessary to fix the problems we have in Trinidad and Tobago exists here in Trinidad and Tobago right now. And I also want to say as a member of the public that I have a great sense of outrage and frustration about how the situation is in Trinidad right now, particularly with crime, but not exclusively, and how those who hold public office, both appointed and elected, seem to do so well at getting everything for themselves. Nice cars, nice house, nice this, nice trip, nice wine, etc. And things like the prison system or the justice system that seem to require, to my mind, seem to be the reason why people enter public office. And I'm not casting any aspersions on yourself, and I'm not saying that any criminal activities have taken place, but someone could have 2 Range Rovers with similar numbers. You can hear rumors about property all over the country. You hear rumors about bank accounts in Panama. And that is only one individual among several. And the public interest. I mean, I am almost 60 years now. I've been hearing this story since I was 18 years old, with my hand across my heart, loving Trinidad and Tobago, expecting a bright future. And we're still talking this very sad, woeful, melancholy tale. So I find this really terrible, that so little seems to have been done, and the fact that we are so tame. We have sat here, in my case, for 3.5 hours, and have listened attentively. Doesn't mean that we're not very angry. And this is not the kind of language I would use with my friends at the beach if I had to express the rage that I feel. If you never had respect for the unschooled and the unnurtured, I have found that when I interact with people sometimes who have very low incomes, who have become wards of the state, some of these people are incredible, very intelligent. It is just because of the circumstances of their birth, their schooling, their socialization. But what you see is that they have minds in some of these individuals that are brilliant minds. And what has happened to them is a consequence of our failing homes, our failing communities, our failing families, which all need as much support as the justice system and the prison system need. So we can't treat the prison system without treating the homes and the families with the same degree of urgency. And we have a justice system that is costing money, that could be spent, and we can't find money to spend on sports, on recreation, on guiding, on scouting, on going by the river and making cooking a nice, clean fireside with a good toilet, with a well-patrolled, with a ranger, you know. We could be spending that money that we're spending on keeping people in prison and coercing people and policing them, making them into better people, spending it on training, on learning a skill. And even when they are in prison, because there's a concept called positive GDP. We're spending a lot of money on negative GDP, beating up people. And there's a new concept in economics. Dr. Job doubted me when I raised it with him, and I had to show him the authorities. There's a concept called positive GDP. And instead of spending our money positively, we're spending too much of our money negatively, creating and supporting negativity. And when people, like on the policing, the coercion, on the soldiering, on the surveillance cameras, on the burglar proofing, on the weapons, I didn't come to make a question. You want to speak for me? Yeah.
Joe,
Yeah.
could I ask you, just for the purposes of this afternoon, if we could just keep it a little succinct, please. I don't want to stymie contributions, but I'm respectful that it's a question and answer time.
Yeah. So, well, I was told when I called your ministry there's a public consultation time and I could make a statement.
Yes, sir.
I did call the ministry at the clock this morning.
I accept that you did. I have known you for a long while, but I will
okay,
then.
So
I'll
try to be brief nonetheless. Yeah. So what I want to say is, if you were to send 500 trained prisoners out every year, graduate them with skills, good masons, good carpenters, good joiners, good mechanics. If the prison could be what the prestige schools are, the centers of excellence, where you get the best craftsmen, where you have prison officers who are top craftsmen, instructors, teaching prisoners. If we send out 500 of those every year, we'd be adding to the economy $120 million a year. At present, GDP per capita, we'll be removing costs from the prison system. Prison only, not the police, not the military, $56 million a year. Think about that.
Understood.
That is the opportunity that we have. And finally, I want to suggest, just like we do in the labor court, just like we do in the customs tribunal, just like we do, I think there's another tribunal that doesn't come to mind, but if you could go to a customs court if you have a customs offense. We had a government minister before a customs court a couple of years ago. You can go to the labor court. The people in the labor court are not magistrates, they're not trained lawyers, and you can get justice. In the same way, we could push justice down to the community level, where people in their home communities could deliver, could mediate, and could arbitrate solutions at the village level for certain minor offenses by consensus. The same thing is done right now in China. They have a people's roving court that sets up under a mango tree with a desk and with chairs all over China. We could solve a lot of problems in our communities, and we should, as part of the local government reform, we should incorporate these changes and make the justice system work in the village. And some of the people who are clapping, I'm sure, would be happy if that would happen in their community.
Thank you very much. Yes, sir. Would you please state your name as well?
Hi, my name is Dennis Peter Lewis. I had been a prison officer for 32 years. I joined the prison service at the age of 23. I am thankful for this forum this afternoon. I am here to make a suggestion, because this opportunity, it is a spiritual contribution to what is needed in the prison service and in this country. I've heard it from the panel, but there was something just lacking, like not calling a spade a spade. And my contribution this evening, I'm really honored because I'm about to be set free for this contribution and this opportunity. In looking forward or into solving the crime in this country of Trinidad and Tobago, 2016 and beyond, it is my personal belief that no prison in Trinidad and Tobago should be run by any pale system. No prison at all in Trinidad and Tobago should be run by any pale system. When we hear of all the money that has been spent in this country for a young man to come in or a young woman to come into a job and have to supervise people passing with pail, bucket, it is not right. And we can look at each other in the face and know that we are creating the biggest criminal injustice in this land, because our people, this nation, doing their numbers in buckets. That is a criminal offense of itself. And it has been said like inhuman, but I don't want to hear the word inhuman. I want the pale system must be eradicated totally before your 52 months in office. I humbly suggest.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Lewis. Yes, sir. Could you please state your name?
Good evening, everybody. My name is Steve Lewis, and I want to congratulate the Attorney General and all the contributions of the panel at the head table, because most of what all you're saying there, I hope this is not another talk shop, but action speaks louder than words, okay? Now, Mr. Williams, it is to close down that prison up on Frederick Street. And we route all those prisoners either in Golden Grove, Carrera, and make sure that they are well taken care of. The transportation system here is 80 million, but I more believe it's 180 million only paying in transportation. Bring transportation back into the prison. Let prisons take care of transportation prisoners. And where there is the video link or whatever all you want to do within that situation to get prisoners out, it will be good. Now, concerning remand prisoners, those who are there 6 months and over, I think according to the prison, whatever charges or whatever they are there for, they should be released and be given the right to go to the nearest police station every month or something, so that backlog within the remand will be reduced. And those who are there 6 months and under, speedy trial. I want to say to the Law Association, a failing grade, because for too long we have been hearing that a prisoner come into prison and they are adjournment and they are back in remand for over 5, 10, 16 years. These prisoners have to be compensated. It ain't nothing about going to trial again. It is compensating these prisoners, because I saw some, according to the Attorney General, one is a woman, $12,000, and she spent a year, and it's $250,000 for her year, right? Now, concerning the constitution of the prison or the rules of the prisons, I think that the prison officers are in their right. It's the judiciary who have the prison officers' life at risk, because the prisoners now, according to what is going on, they will take out their frustration on the prison officers instead of looking at where the problem really lies in the judiciary and the court. I think it's more suitable for you to get the court system for prisoners in real order, so that we'll have less prisoners inside those prisons, because I don't agree in building more prisoners. No. I want to see the day that we clear out every prisoner from in our prisons. We want our mind decriminalize the minds of criminals in this country. This is what we want. And last but not least, legalize marijuana. Legalize marijuana. Do not make marijuana criminal in Trinidad and Tobago. Please, please, please. Because in 1968, before 1968, marijuana was sold over the counter. It have a Trinidad Gazette. Go and look at it. Marijuana, 16 cents a pound. Marijuana, 16 cents a pound. That is in the Trinidad Gazette. Please look into it. And according to the guns, you will have more police looking for those guns, those devil with guns, who are creating a mischief in this country, so that we could really live comfortable and peaceable. Thank you very much.
Well said, Mr. Lewis. Thank you, sir. Just before, I'll invite 3 speakers to the microphone, and just permit me a moment. No, please come to the microphones, if that's okay. All 3, 1, 2, 3. We have 3 mics. I'd just like to give a quick response. I want to say thank you very much for the very meaningful contributions. It is exactly what you are saying that we want to hear. And I too pray that this isn't just a talk shop. I am one person in the cog, but I am the current enabler. So we are listening very carefully to what you have to say, everyone, and we're taking notes as well. So may I ask you to please state your name and deliver your contribution?
I am Edward Gill, advocate of the hidden photo. Have you got that, sir? All due respect to those of you upstairs and to the people. Thank you ever so much for keeping this business here, because we would like to voice our opinion and our knowledge about what is taking place here in this country. Now I came here and I was expecting to have one of these things here so I could put my document on top here to speak to you. I mean, I consider that inconsiderate, because we can't just come and those amount of things that you all told us, we can't record that in our, we have to have a computer to take that. Anyway, let's go to what you
just to tell you, sir, there will be a computer with all of the information available to you. So all of this that we've said today, it'll be available on video, hard copy, all the slides, all the information on the AG's website.
Well, I have big dunce to all that. Well, anyway, let's go to what we came here to do. I have here with me some documents. Trinidad and Tobago Republican Constitution. And every member of the police force, I like to say police force, not police service, every member of the police force ought to know what this document is about, and ought not to allow no politician to give no instruction to no military arm of the state. In so doing, that would be a scornful contempt of the presidential powers and authority. And if he did not fiercely resist such act of political treachery, he should be charged for assisting politicians in the treasonable destruction of our Constitution. These laws is not jokes what they make here. I would like to ask, what is this business here, boy? The people say they make this thing. What is this? What is this? We only talk about Constitution. We hear about constitutional reform. What is constitutional reform? You have to say what clause, what paragraph, what clause. That is not good. You just can't say you want constitutional reform. We say yes. We are not cold. I mean, we're not highly educated, but we know what the right from the wrong. Now, I will have here, now that is called the national constitution. I have here with me the international constitution. For those of you who understand well, so you might know, it is, the people call it the Holy Bible. This constitution says, thou shalt take no excuse for murder. Once or you were too young, or you were drunk at the time, or you have crack, no excuse for murder. Now, you will hear over the country, on the radio or the TV, the police and them not stopping the crime. This police can't stop crime. Is not crime. You have to stop. It's criminal, not crime. It's criminal. You have to stop. And for a police to stop crime, he has to know who going and commit a crime, so he will know the name. He has to know why he's going to commit this crime, so he'll know the motive. He has to know when he's going to commit a crime, so he has to be in place there waiting. He has to know where he's going to commit this crime, so he has to be there. He has to know how he's going to. Can a police know these things? Can a police know these things? Then you might hear, ladies and gentlemen, due to, we stopped this program to tell you that this morning we had to let go the criminal because of a loophole in the law. I would like to ask, which part in thou shalt not steal have loophole? Or which part in thou shalt not commit murder having technicality? I stopped and I'm trying to find out. I said, maybe I should get some money. That's the technicality. Now, I have brought some documents here to hand every one of you, all of you. Forgive me, eh? Listen good. All due respect to those, I mean no offense, and to the audience, great love and great consideration. I would not prolong this too much. I have told you how things ought to go on. It is the police duty to know they are the ones who rule the country, not politicians. Politicians, I don't want to say anything. Anyway, look, I will hold up now. Eh? I'll give all my documents. When this is over, I have some documents for you all. Thank you. And thank you again.
Thank you, Mr. Gill.
Sufficient for what you have done here.
God bless you, sir. Thank you. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Your name is?
I am Bishop Ronald Devetai,
Thank you, sir.
and I am from the Disciples of Christ, as well as I represent the United Front for African Development. we have several concerns, Mr. Attorney General. One is the way, after a person has been charged for a crime and has paid his or her due, we do not see the necessity for the state to hold that person in bondage to the extent that if a person wants to get a job after they have been rehabilitated and they have become model citizens, why should they have to get a certificate of character to get a job? And that could hinder them for the rest of their lives. So we are saying that in your consideration, we think that that should be removed. Number two, I have a complaint because when I came here to listen to your presentation, but I also came here feeling as though I too could become a criminal. The reason for this is being that we have organs in the state that's non-functional. For example, we have the population have to pay sometimes for the inadequacy, the deficiency, or the corruption of the judiciary and sometimes from the legal fraternity. For example, a particular person used the police station and the police to act as his agent, came into my home. I complained, tried to see the commissioner of police, went to report the matter to the police complaints of police bringing criminals in my house. And to this date, nothing has been done. And apart from nothing has been done, I reported the matter to the fraud squad, where these guys illegally transferred my house, my property, to the name to other person. And I paid a lawyer who failed to file on time. And there I just got a judgment in default. 42 days I have to leave my house or strike this down. I came here to say that if any crime is committed by Ronald Divitai, I have become a creature of the state, of the lack of proper policing, and of the unscruples of the judiciary. And again, as I said, the police service, I have come on many occasions to meet the commissioner of police. Nobody has paid any specific attention to that. And I hope because we're talking about crime, because sometimes we look at crime as somebody is going and do wickedness, but sometimes we fail to see the wickedness that is done to people by the state, by the judiciary, by the legal fraternity, and the average person has to pay the price for those negligence.
Yes, sir.
So I thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Divitai. Yes, sir. Your name, please.
Yes, good evening, pleasant evening to the AG. My name is Carl Ryan. I'm a mental health consultant. In fact, I wear two hats. I'm a mental health consultant and also a master tutor in interpersonal conflict management. I have spent over 24 years in the British justice system, so I just wanted to give you a little window of observation into my experiences. I am very, very concerned about the care and treatment and safety of persons in custody. And during my stay in the UK, I've worked in several prisons. Let me start by saying that studies show that 90% of persons in custody have some form of mental disorder. Further to that, the Psychiatric Association of Canada stated that the prisons in Canada has become a warehouse for people with mental disorder. In addition to that, 77% of the working population in Canada reportedly have some sort of mental disorder. So it leads us to believe that mental disorder is a human phenomenon, and its frequency exists even in the very prison. What is the situation in Trinidad prison? I'm not sure, but I'm sure the frequency of mental disorder exists here. So what happens in the, well, someone mentioned they looked at the South African model. I'm not sure whether other persons looked at the British model. But in the UK, the prison is not an isolated factor. It starts by the first port of entry, which is the police station. And the improvements indicated that the police station is under a program called Safer Custody, where previous to that, it was found that persons successfully committed suicide while in police custody, so that police officers are trained to identify vulnerable persons who are arrested, and trained advocates are immediately brought in, a solicitor brought in to represent that person. But also importantly, that person would be immediately assessed and placed, if they're found to be vulnerable and depressed and perhaps intend to commit some sort of self-harm, they would be placed on some sort of observation. So that person would be sort of safely guarded throughout their stay in the police station. In the prison system, and I've worked at several prisons around England, the first set of persons that prisoner sees is a medical team where they are assessed and all their medical and mental health conditions are taken into consideration. And if they are psychiatrically, they have any sort of psychiatric problems, they are placed in a separate psychiatric unit within the prison. Every prison in England has a psychiatric unit, an acute unit, and in the general areas, there are other patients, but those patients are more compliant with the treatment. So the acute unit is for persons who are at risk of harming themselves or violent. And within that unit, there are about 3 secure cells, which we may call seclusions, where the acutely ill are placed in those cells. And all their mental health needs are taken care of while staying in that prison. What is important, what I picked up mentioned here, is that, I suppose through an act of parliament, there is something called the diversion scheme, where persons who have committed a serious crime and sent to prison, the courts divert that person from the prison to a secure mental health facility. Now there's a 3-tier security system. You have the maximum security, medium security, and low security system. And those systems, because the prison, by the very nature of the Prisons Act, does not accommodate the treatment of people with mental health problems in the prison, the diversion scheme allows for these persons who are deemed to have a diagnosable mental health problem to be treated in a secure facilities, which are just as secure or even more secure than the prison.
Mr. Ryan,
Yes.
I'm fearful that if I interrupt you, I would lose a lot, but I regret that what you're saying is very important and very necessary, but I think it requires some one-on-one with the office that would best receive it, which was a division between the Ministry of National Security and the AG's office. Right. I'd be very pleased to facilitate receipt of some of those recommendations that you're making. But suffice it to say, in Trinidad, there's a very rudimentary system which is under-resourced, underfunded, lack of human capacity, and something which I have personal knowledge that the Commissioner of Prisons is very anxious about, having seen what the facilities for segregation at maximum security and women's prison and others are. So in short reply to you, our system is far from adequate locally, but we do need to have a continued discussion. Regrettably, it's such a large issue that on this occasion, the difficulty is in trying to choose which thread you're going to start pulling on first. So may I, sir, invite you to the members of my secretariat who are the computers there. Would you kindly, right in front of you, waving, if you would kindly give your information, we would love to carry this discussion forward on a more formal footing so we can get the benefit of your full experience, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, that's very okay.
Thank you, sir.
And I said all this to say that whatever reform we're about to embark upon, mental health, education, awareness, management must be included in that reform.
Yes, sir. Thank you. We've in fact only just made the intervention with children, and that's yet to be operationalized. May I ask the next three contributors, sir? Could you give us your name?
Good night. My name is Sean Dalip Singh. All right, the first topic I'd like to talk about is youth incarceration reform, because the only true way to curtail crime right now is by a generation, and that is the kids we have to focus on. We can't just focus on the adults. And I propose a boot camp facility for individuals under the age of 20, military training with educational programs. Secondly, right, the next recommendation is specific institution for high-profile inmates. Example, ISIS, gang leaders, and or anyone deemed a threat to the internal security of Trinidad and Tobago. It is like a slow intravenous poison to allow these individuals in open population with the rest of the remanded prisoners. Thirdly, reintegration and rehabilitation. Right? After someone serves a sentence of 5 to 10 years, they become institutionalized. They become dependent on that system they are in. Right? I propose a work camp / work release program, whereas inmates that have less than 18 months to serve, they could be transported to a different facility with more privileges, and they could work on the roads, drains, clearing of land, and so forth. This giving them back a routine to come back into society. And fourthly, privileges for remanded inmates. You talk about giving them something like a television or proper commissary, but psychologically it's beneficial to the officers, because when you could give someone something, you could also take it back. So it makes inmates easier to handle when they have something to lose.
Thank you, sir. That's an incredible contribution. If I could just tell you very quickly, the youth aspect is in Parliament right now. Our Children's and Family Division Bill is making substantial amendments to 18 pieces of law. I had a choice. I could have brought 18 separate pieces of law, but instead I chose to bring all together because they're all interarticulated with each other. And one of the main planks for reform is in fact what is referred to as YODA, the Youth Offender Detention System, and how we have now reformed that fundamentally to put it under the provisions of the Children's Authority, and how we deal with community centers and rehabilitation centers for children. So that one, I'm pleased to tell you, is significantly being significantly addressed. There's still many a slip between cup and lip, and operational issues still have to happen. Your recommendation on the boot camp and military involvement, I'm very pleased to tell you that the Minister of National Security is pioneering a specific project, again in relation to the youth management, because there's certain things that have to be tested inside of there, but that is something that is being actively addressed by the Minister of National Security as we speak and being used. There are programs such as MyLart, MyPart, etc. And in fact, Minister Edwards, who's here, has a significant part to deal with that too as well. Sorry, Jennings Smith. I'm thinking of another colleague. The rest of it, very much useful suggestions with the Prime Minister. We relate to the use of agriculture and production, and I thank you for your fulminations on deprivation and privilege. They're very useful positions, which I'm sure the Commissioner of Prisons also shares. Thank you so much, Mr. Dalip Singh. May I ask the next gentleman at the microphone to give his name? Not that he's unknown to us, but we will still ask him for his name.
My name is Wayne Chance. I represent Vision on Mission, an organization set up to treat with the reintegration of offenders. I would like to applaud the Attorney General Office and all of the stakeholders sitting on the head table for their contribution as it relates to prison reform. We have a number of recommendations, but on the basis of time, because each presenter really presented a lot, and it is really hard to respond to every issue that was placed on the head table today within the minutes that we would have to respond. So I would take the opportunity to forward our recommendations in writing to your office, because we do have a lot.
Thank you, sir. And if you don't mind, could I ask you if we have permission to include it into the public gallery which we would have? Thank you very much.
But for placing some critical points on the table, because it was raised here in this public forum, first and foremost, hearing from the persons that represent the judiciary and their recommendations and concerns, you get the sense that they really see correction from a particular lens. And for example, we had the gentleman from the Criminal Bar Association was referring to release from prison under good behavior, but in a proper correctional system, good behavior only qualifies you to go before a parole committee, not release out of prison. So prison is managed, and I know the experts are here, but from a case management perspective, and those information from that case management perspective speak to the whole criminogenic approach in terms of the different techniques and approach and treatment which relate to what happened in different stages of the prisoner time within the prison system. However, for Mr. Khan, in respect, recommending that lands be given to by the government to treat with reintegration, I would just like to state that, we have advanced many of those thoughts and recommendations. For example, Vision and Mission. We have over 50-something acres of land in Wallerfield. We have a facility completed in the tune of $6 million, ready and stand to accommodate 100 men. If you head into Clarkson Bay, you will see a beautiful facility being established on Clarkson Bay flyover to house 65 women supported by Republic Bank. We have a facility called the Starter House Program being completed in Laventille to help inmates with reduce rent as it relates to the housing. So there is a lot of programs in motion. What need to be taken into consideration is a proper reintegration policy. There is no reintegration policy. In closing, in the UK, in the United States and England, these are states or countries that operate with a well-modern prison system. And matters are, executed very swiftly within those systems. However, these countries still have a very large number of persons in the prison system. So what is the cause of the influx of persons within the prison system? So we have to take into consideration the whole question of where the recidivism takes place, where the reoffending takes place. If we're talking about a high rate of recidivism don't take place inside the prison. Reoffending don't take place inside the prison. Those are statistics that take place outside of the prison. So the people who are returning back to prison, something is happening wrong as it relates to within the community, that support system to help them to usher back into the society, to resettle, therein lie a major part of your challenge. And if that is not fixed here, you will always have a high populated remand prison. And last but not least, how many of your remand prisoners are repeat offenders? So when we're talking about the number of persons in the remand, how many of them would have been convicted before and now in the remand? So we have to look at that whole question of recidivism from a holistic perspective to really, charter the solution or the panacea that relates to addressing these issues. But again, we will forward a number of our recommendations in writing. But that's the place on record.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chance. Very lucid and important observations, so thank you sincerely. The gentleman at the back, please.
Yes, thank you, sir. A pleasant good afternoon to each and everyone here this evening.
Your name, sir?
My name is Mr. Horace Shockness. I'm the president of the North Tegomartin Community Council. It's with my view, sir, that I wish to make a suggestion before the goodly panel that I heard nothing about mediation. I myself has done a great deal of amount of mediation within my community center. And I want to recommend to you, sir, that with your good office, that most of the mediation centers that are operating within the country, that let they came out from the centers where they are and come into the community centers. Because most of the community concerns that are taking place that could be resolved before you reach in the court could be dealt with in the community center. Because community centers are for the community. And I suggest to you, sir, knowing that you are a fair person, that you should look into that and bring that forward in fastest possible time. And it's a way of breaking down most of these petty offenses that take place within the magistrate court, with a neighbor fighting for one other piece of land and a foot of land here and a foot of land there.
Yes, sir.
Also, I have other concerns, but I'm not addressing at this moment. But the main concern I have here is a friend of mine who I am trying to assist for the past amount of 22 years. His situation, sir, is that he was charged and before the court for driving without license and insurance. He didn't pay the fine, so he has to spend $30 days in prison. And upon him doing his prison term, he was read a warrant for murder in the jail, and he remained there for 28 days thereafter. Honorable Attorney General, I want you to be fair. This gentleman has been suffering in silence for so many years now. He's sitting right here behind me. And he is the one who has been coming to me over and over, and to my counsel. And all the other attorneys who was dealing with his case just shun him all over. I wrote a letter to you and your good office, but I know your schedule is extremely busy. So too is mine, but I would like if you could get some sort of way of a matter or a trial to begin for him to be compensated. Because when he ring his ears, when he ring my ears day and night, it has hurt me. Because there are so many other matters that I personally dealt with within the community where I live and sort out that at one time I said, ask myself if I was a magistrate or a lawyer. But there are certain circumstances, and this is the only matter, sir, that is before within my community that is burning. And the gentleman here is so vivid that he's a bit shy. But since that I open the way, I want to give you a little insight as to what takes place. Yeah.
Well, in 1984, I was charged for murder.
My case finished the 16th of the 10th in 1986. I was sent to the mental hospital by Judge Crane. In 1989, I was sent to by the President Hassan Ali. I was driving, in 1991, I was driving a vehicle without no license. Western police hold me. I plead guilty to the charge. They charged me $800. I didn't have the money to pay the fine, and I went in prison. I was supposed to come out on the 27th of July in 1991. In 1991, on the 27th of July, a murder warrant was read out by a prison officer by the name of Peter Hills, and tell me that I charged for murder. And I, as a sick man, and I don't know the charges that I tell my case finished. The call center and them go tell him that's how my case finished. He never do so. And the same people inform them to them go. And the case never had no hearing, and lawyers and them saying that the case are hearing, it never had no hearing. I went to court, my name never called. The lawyer, the judge, and my lawyer stamp in the court and to show among themselves, and nobody in the court here what they talk about. Next thing, the lawyer walk out from the court and leave me in the room there. I thought he went to the bathroom or something. When I went and looked for him, I couldn't find him. Later on, I get the fact that Mr. Bridgman died, and no other lawyer picked up him. I don't know what happened to the matter. It never had no hearing. My name never called. Nobody asked me any question. And I've been going through this for 22 years now. I changed 13 lawyers.
Okay. You've written to the AG's office. Thank you,
Yes,
sir.
yes, sir.
And our office will reply in due course. I promise you that we'll reply to everything that everybody writes to us on. May take a little while sometimes for the correspondence to come to us, but we'll undertake to look at the issue and to give you a reply as is appropriate. Okay, thank you very much,
Okay.
both gentlemen.
Yeah, okay.
Mr. Monroe Brown?
Thank you, sir.
Yes, Mr. AG. A pleasant evening to you, sir. And a pleasant evening to all the members who are sitting up there with you. In the interest of saving time, I wouldn't go through the names. Mr. AG, there is a whole lot to complain about. In fact, you probably know that I have a lot of personal complaints, but I am not the kind of person that would want to raise my personal complaints here, lest I embarrass other people. I think the problem that our country is facing is far greater and bigger than my personal complaints. And I don't know if you know, but when I returned from London in that would have been 94, and I saw the state of our nation, I started writing, drawing up crime plans. I first began with Alison Dimas, who I met in London studying as well. This is Gavin Simonet's wife, and we drew up a crime plan, and we sent it on to the government. And then later on, Mr. Prime Minister Manning sent his advisor, Mr. Atwell, to talk with me because I would be on the radio with Umbala talking about crime and fixing crime and that sort of thing and whatnot. And Mr. Atwell told me that he's going to put me together with Brigadier Joe Theodore. And Joe Theodore and myself, deceased, we sat down and we drew up a plan, and out of that plan came my lap and my part and that sort of thing. And so I heard that you're having consultation on crime. I thought it would be crime today, but I see it's prison reform. And then prison reform is part of crime. But I'm here because I want to be involved in the process. I want to be commissioned, because I was never commissioned. As a matter of fact, even with the McKay Commission when it came, that was my idea. At the home of Carlton Phillips, he said, what should we do? Carlton Phillips, QC, deceased. I said, let's have a commission of inquiry. And he said, yes, good, put that in. And you probably remember I was on the Whole of Justice steps with QC and all that. I am that kind of person, not very much liked, but I speak my mind, and I'm about truth, and I'm about justice. I want to assist you, if you would have me assist you. I've told you the reasons why I've been involved in the process of trying to get things done, solve things. You've heard Bishop Devertile. he is my leader right now, part of the United Front for African Development. We, every night, every Wednesday night, one Wednesday night a week, we forego sleep. We go through the night talking about these issues. And while you were talking, one of the greatest presentations I've ever heard from a government minister, if I might say so, Mr. AG, I was saying, but like the AG was listening to our program. I know that may not have been the case. And the other speakers, Mr. Israel Khan QC, we've had our run-ins, but the things that he's been saying and things that Judge Rajiv Prasad has been saying, we've been saying in our programs. And Mr. Israel Khan QC touched on something about a certain kind of people who are in the jail. We have been talking about that.
Mr. Monroe-Brown, could I beg to interrupt only because of the
interest of time. Yes.
But to say that the AG's office is an open door for all volunteers, and that I will certainly continue a conversation with you.
Indeed.
Later. We've known each other for many years. So you don't need to worry about whether I would find you or not.
I'm pleased to hear that, Ms. AG. But one thing I want to say before I close then is that we need to have a permanent crime commission, a permanent criminal justice reform commission, or maybe several of them, maybe 4 in different regions. And we need seriously to look at national service, regionalized, to avoid our youth from being arrested by the police who are doing their job. We need to have that. National service needs to be put back on the agenda. And so my lap, my part, and citizens conservation, everything comes under one umbrella. And we need also to go back to the old days when I was a youth, when boys up in Mary Road and Mover, I don't want to get into that personal bit right now. The police, we were told, were the first magistrate. And many of the cases that find themselves in the magistrate's court do not need to be there, because they're police superintendents and inspectors of the stations who can give these young fellas a warning. They can call their parents in and say, listen, this young fella is giving trouble. We're going to keep him here for the evening. Come and get him at 11 o'clock tonight or midnight tonight. Give him a warning. I don't know if they could get him licks. But send them home. You know, the obscene language and all this sort of one joint and all this thing. Wasting the court's time. But I take your cue, Mr. AG.
Thank you, sir.
I'll be in touch. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Yes.
May I invite the lady at the back to give us her name, please?
Good night. I'm Michelle Guy. Prison reform. I've been waiting for that a while. What happened? My cousin has been in jail for 7 years waiting on his matter to call. And every 24 days he has to go back to the magistrate to hear that he has an adjournment. He has paid off his lawyer all the money. My cousin is a family man. You're not giving him a chance to prove he's a changed man. It's been 7 years and it's adjournment. And this is very unfair because you are turning people into criminals. When it is I have to wait 7 years for my matter to be called, get sentenced and wait the next 7 again. So I'm only asking you, the Attorney General, if you can please do something for me, for my cousin Nigel Mayers.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much.
I appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Mr. Tweed?
Pleasant good night.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see the gentleman first standing before you who we've been going in a sequential order. Would you mind if I were to ask him to give his position first? Apologies, sir. Yes, sir. The gentleman is coming to check the mic, sorry. Maybe it's a sign from God that I should have let the second Sir, would you mind if I were to ask the other gentleman to continue till we fix that problem? I apologize. Yes, sir. Your name for the record?
My name is David Tate. I'm representing St. Joseph Community Council. We have a few concerns. One, some of the young people in our area, when they are arrested and convicted for crimes, some of them are 18, 19, 20, they are placed in cells with more senior criminals. And that tend to have an impact upon what's coming out. Also, the media. There are people in our area who have served time for crime. And when they are released, you will have on the papers, rapist release or whatever from jail and thing. And this has a stigma on the people when they're coming back into the society for acceptance and whatever. And we feel that we must have mercy upon people who have served the time in prison and have now come out. Also, bail. They have young people in our area. When they make jail, they can't afford bail. The mother renting, the father renting. The father might not be around. It has nobody. There are no property to take bail. You understand? The man sign up outside the court with a deed, want $50,000, $90,000 to stand the bail with a deed and all kind of thing. The police have people stand up there who will give you bail because they're getting a cutback. And then we are saying to you, sir, there had to be some kind of thing for poor people who don't have money and things to pay bail and don't have property, that the court could look at some kind of way where it could come out and the person could sign a national bond or something, and they could come out. Because a lot of people sit down inside it. We have people inside from 12 years now.
Mr. Tate, I'm going to interrupt you only because I know you.
Yeah.
And I know you wouldn't mind. We're dealing with bail squarely, as all of the panelists have dealt with. Part of what today was to hear the desire from the public, because we've already drafted what we want, but we need to have some public support. So that's going to be in the second stage of where we come, but it's on our legislative agenda, the AG's legislative agenda. Relative to young people, I can tell you, the Commissioner of Prisons has bent over backwards to in fact keep, as a child, people up to 24 years old, as a child, when they should not be there, to try and keep the segregation between children and, as you put it, more serious, more senior offenders.
Well, we will send a memo to you, sir, on other views that we have, and perhaps you can look at it. And
we would welcome it, because we're also going to be putting it onto the public domain for people to have a look at what the population has to say about it.
I would like to thank you that civil society and other groups like us could come and interface with you.
Thank you, Mr. Tate. Appreciated. Yes, sir. The microphone is now yours.
Thank you, Honorable Attorney General. A pleasant good evening to you, sir, to the head table, and to everybody here. My name is David Prince, and I've been a prison officer for the past 30 years.
Yes, sir.
Sir, my issues with the Commissioner of Prisons Office, as it relates to the Commissioner of Police Office. According to the Constitution, 123(1), the Commissioner of Police has the power to appoint persons to act, make promotions, to transfer, confirm appointments. In my service, we have to go through Service Commission. So the Commissioner alluded to it earlier, where we're trying to deal with, I don't want to say rogue elements, but our challenges.
Yes, sir.
The association said the same thing. But when we come up with these persons, we still have to send them through Service Commission, unlike the other office that could discipline and treat with them. So I would like to make a recommendation for my commissioner, the Prison Service Commissioner, to be afforded that same opportunity, because we're trying to deal with our challenges. And to do so...
May I remind you, sir, that Section 123 of the Constitution is a deeply entrenched provision which required a much larger majority support than just one player. So I think that you're pushing at an open door to the Commissioner of Prisons, but we're going to have to take the advocacy for this kind of issue, because you would be, in essence, amending the Constitution of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, and you have up to 3/4 majority to consider, not just 3/5 majority. So we would have to do some serious work to begin to get there. The 123A and other amendments in the Constitution came about in 2006 with the introduction of the Police Service Commission. The autonomy, the financial autonomy to the Commissioner of Police as well, and therefore one could easily associate the good sense in having the Commissioner of Prisons treated similarly in some issues, so that there could be discipline, promotion, and management issues vested in one authority. But that's a recommendation which I would sincerely appreciate some written version from you on, because it starts an advocacy for a deeper issue consideration. But I'm just being frank with you and telling you that it involves some deeper considerations, which would also involve some advocacy to the opposition and the national community as well.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Prince. Yes, ma'am, your name, please.
Good night, everyone. My name is Natasha De Leon. And tonight I would like to, before I ask the question, I would like to first enhance something in regards to, I think that the public should be aware in regards to the system, prison system. In as much as we don't like to be in prison, well, I am an inmate for the past 23 years behind bars. And I was given the opportunity through Mr. Sterling Stewart to be here tonight, and also the administrative sectors of the prison. It is indeed a pleasure to be here, because I think that society needs to understand that even if we may have done wrong and injured society in whatever way, we too, in our own way, try to make amends. And we cannot do it on our own, because despite of the fact that there may be some officers may be up, some may be down, but nevertheless, what I would like to say is there are good officers within the system. There are. I think that deserves a round of applause. And why I'm saying this, because if it wasn't for these officers, then I would not have been here tonight, to stand before you all, to let you all know that there are programs that are offered to inmates, but it's up to the inmate to take it. There is only so much you can give somebody, even behind bars, but you have the opportunity and the rights to take it and make yourself marketable and make yourself productive with the mindset that you intend to go forward. So because of this, I want to thank each and every officer, because it is a hard job. I mean, dealing with us two on the other side. And, you know, it is sad to know too that even if an officer may do wrong, or you, the inmate, may feel offended, that some of us take the drastic measures of destroying their lives. Because in spite of what, we are fighting for a second chance. And I don't think it is right that we, because of anger, then take it upon them to actually destroy their lives. Nevertheless, Mr. Al-Rawi, I would like to ask this question, this burning question. I have been on death row for 13 years and more. I came off of death row in 2008. And so I've listened to I've listened to a lot of, as Mr. Israel Khan rightfully said, a lot of talk. I'm not saying it wouldn't come into fruition, but the question is, what is going to become of lifers? So it takes a great toll upon a person who has been sentenced. Sometimes some of us came down on an interim order, which I now understand is a temporary order. And when you are there, normally the mindset of a normal human being is this: give up, have no more hope, because there's no reasons to hope. But so to get up every day and still be able to put a foot in front of the other, and knowing that you have made amends for the wrongs that you have done to society, society is not giving you the opportunity to see that. But you get up with the intention of trying to make yourself a better individual, and you're utilizing all the opportunities that is given in the system to transform yourself, not only just mentally, but physically and spiritually. And you're asking now, what is going to become of us when we sit down behind bars and nobody then thinks about how we will feel and where we're going at? And then a person who has, you know, because it takes Mr. Sterling Stewart to tap into his humanity to make it possible for us lifers to get the opportunity to be heard, to get the opportunity to become, to be the opportunity to stand up and still know that there is hope at the end of the rope. So I am asking you kindly tonight, on behalf of myself and my fellow lifers, to look into us and remember us at the end of the day, sir. Remember that even if you give us a fixed sentence, at least we will have future to hope for something better than just sitting down behind bars and not, we don't know. Because here I am. I mean, I am a part of the restorative justice, and I can say this, because if the prison didn't offer me this opportunity, then as I said, I would not have been here tonight. And I am here because of individuals who is part of the system, and they saw something in me to give me a chance to come forward. And because of this, I'm begging, I'm pleading with you tonight before society, that let society also know that we know, and I know that I have done something wrong, and I could never turn back the hands of time. I would also like to extend and also say sorry even to those who have hurt and never got the opportunity to actually say it. And as I said, the future is not where we're going, but what we are creating. And once we remember that, we just have to remember at the end of the day, it comes down to humanity. And Mr. Sterling Stewart, I really want to say thank you. Thank you very much, sir, for this grand opportunity to be here. Thank you.
Ms. De Leon, what a contribution. There is a system in place that just doesn't work. It's called pardon. Mr. Khan just approached me to say that you had applied for legal aid and that, in fact, someone has been appointed to deal with the issue of pardon. But that genuinely doesn't take it far enough. I visited the women's prison. I came the day when you had a concert practice, and I got the pleasure of watching what, if I could say it this way, a prison should be, as opposed to the remand yard that I had seen just before. And I'd like to tell you that the issue of parole and sentencing is something that is very foremost in my mind. I am an enabler, simply, as Attorney General. I would have to be an advocate for certain causes, as I am. It's one of the reasons why we're here today. I'd just like to thank you sincerely for your contribution. The day we were actually at the women's prison, many of the women spoke to a number of issues that I took very careful note of, including the issue of how the prison's rules ought to be amended or the new ones rolled out. It's distressing, and it's why I raised the example of a mother seeing her child once a year. It's in the women's prisons that I also saw how some of the mentally unstable people are dealt with, which is what I was explaining to Mr. Carl a short while ago. So, you don't have deaf ears before you. There are a lot of issues to be dealt with, but what we have been trying to do is to enable a structure where it can be tracked and monitored. Forgive me for just indulging the audience. I've attempted to corporatize the Attorney General's office by tracking all divisions in the office on a monthly basis where reports are tendered as to what's going on. And I have, with the permission of the Minister of National Security, been very, very involved in the prisons aspect. And we have been working as a tag team in that dynamic. It wasn't by mistake that the Prime Minister put 3 ministers in the Ministry of National Security and 2 ministers in the Attorney General's office, and why he brought in 2 ministers in the office of the Prime Minister, because we're dealing with children detention as well. So when you think about it, you have 8 people addressing issues, and I'd like to tell you that that's a first for a government structure. It's not been done before. Whether it's going to be another talk shop or results are going to happen, what I can promise you is we're very conscious that there are 52 months left. We count it in months, which is why the reports come every month and the measurement of deliverables are being there, and which is why we've now come into the public to say what we've done, what we would like to do, so that we can give a line of sight. If there are 100 things to be done, and we tell people that there are 100 to be done, but look, we can at least achieve 3 to 7 now, or 10 now, 15 next year, then it gives hope, which is something that you spoke to. So permit me that very long answer to you to tell you that we're paying very close attention. And I promise you, somebody spoke a little while ago about ministers having cushy jobs and, nice food and good wine and cars. I promise you that in taking up this position, it's no harder work than I did in private practice, but it's no cushy job. Nor am I looking for one. I came to do public service. I unplugged from private life and took up public service. Thankfully, the people of San Fernando West and the Prime Minister allowed me that opportunity, and I intend to give it my best shot in the next 52 months. May I ask you, sir, to give your name? The gentleman at the back who is standing before you, if that's okay? Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Good evening.
A voice we all know, but we'd like to hear the name.
Good evening to everybody, and of course, all protocols extended. My name is Charles Davis. I am media practitioner. And given the fact that what we see where crime is concerned in Trinidad and Tobago and how it affects everyone, I am really kind of surprised that I've been here from the beginning, that more people didn't turn up to this forum this evening. And it's either because people are either fed up or they're about to give up. And the responsibility is great on the government right now, because I think this is like a kind of a last straw for Trinidad and Tobago. If we lose this opportunity, as so many other people have said, then I think we would be in a place where we would not be able to live. I want to say much thanks to all the contributors this evening, to you, the Attorney General, and I'm glad to hear the passion that I'm hearing coming from all the contributors, and like Wayne, who have been doing it for so long. And to know also that the Attorney General, that you are speaking with the CJ and other persons, and I get the feeling that, you know what, you all the things that have been identified here this afternoon, you all know the problems, you know. We all know the problems. Nothing really we have heard that we have not heard before. But like so many other people, and I hear a lot of passion coming, that, you know what, we really need to get people who are just talking, but who are able now to implement and work. And I'm hoping, just like everybody else, that we are going to move past this stage this time. I want to also say to Mr. Richards, and I hear his plea for his officers and the housing situation, and removing the officers from hotspots area and that sort of thing. But then after the prison officers, then it will be the police. The communities will be defenseless. And when you move the officer, you may move him, you move his wife and his children, but does that stop him from going back to look for his mother, his sister, and all the other people that live in those communities? Also, when a young man or a young woman from that community wants to join the service in the future, at some point in time, we're going to have to put a stop and say, well, okay, we can't just have people coming from the communities and looking for housing for them. So do we say to the young man or young woman in years to come that, look, you can't join the service because, you know, you live in a hotspot area. We don't have enough housing to put you, so it makes no sense you coming into the service. That is another problem that we will be creating. We have to start to fix the communities. The police have a responsibility to start to take back our communities. And unless we start to see that, we're really going nowhere. And the final thing I want to really say that I didn't hear addressed at all, and in forums like this, is that there is an element within all of the services, the prison, the police, the fire, and people who are supposed to be upholding the law who really and truly, even the customs and all those other places, who have really brought us to this position that we're in, you know. And how do we deal with really and truly the rogue elements who continue to, I mean, look, we just had a search in the prison. And 2 days after, I'm hearing people trying to smuggle things into the prison officers. How much more of that can we, and it's making it life difficult, not just for them, but also dangerous for them. How do we deal with rogue elements within the police service? And is the government really prepared to deal with that in a significant way? It might make more sense that we have 3,000 good officers in the police service than 8,000, and we have so many bad ones. So I think we need to deal with those situations in a very serious way. And unless the government has the will to really tackle those kinds of things, we'll continue just to have these talk shops over and over again. Trinidad and Tobago needs more than that. And I'm hoping that we can get a lot more than that now.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks very much.
Permit me just to give a quick response on behalf of what I perceive the prisons officers' advocacy for homes to be. Faced with the scourge that they are dealing with, 18 officers murdered in the last 2 decades, the job of an advocate is to be an advocate. And therefore, if there's an immediate and burning situation, I would expect nothing less from them. I am sure that they have factored the consideration that communities would suffer if, quote unquote, all the good men walked away. It isn't only the Commissioner of Police and the police who have to take back communities. It's the communities that need to take back the communities too. Because let's face it, when a crime happens, everybody was a good boy. Nobody knew that he or she was in trouble, and it just didn't happen. So the creeping sense of doom is something that we all have to embrace. And I think that we agree with you. But I catch your point. I didn't mean to polarize it unduly. As the people turning up for consultations, the one privilege that being in public life has afforded is to understand how many people really come to consult. This is not uncommon. People come when it affects them. And if there's a sense of nonchalance or give up, or there's another talk shop, a lot of people just not bothered to turn up. But I'm never dissuaded or discouraged by that. I've learned that if I speak to 2 people or 5 people or 10 people or 2,000 people, you just have to do the job and continue to do the consultation, because slowly enough people will understand that you're serious about what you're doing. And then when they turn up late, you get to say, well, really, where were you when you had the opportunity on the first 15 occasions? So there is some method to the madness.
Can I ask just one more question?
Yes, sir.
And I'm glad that you said that the government would be measuring their time, 10% of the time was already gone. With all the things that you have identified and the recommendations, do you see a timeline for all of these things being put in place?
The genuine desire of the government is to increase the level of understanding of issues. Far too often, issues are dealt with behind closed doors, and people don't have facts. It's one of the main reasons why I wanted to come here today, and why the good men have come to lend a hand in putting this out. To answer the question as to time frame, once you understand what the line of sight is, a term borrowing from the oil and gas industry, if you can see from the bottom of the pyramid to the top of the pyramid, and you know where you're going to go in terms of a short-term, medium-term, and long-term perspective, then you're able to disaggregate some of your things. Specifically, legislatively, we will be producing, I have it drafted already, a 5-year legislative consideration, some which will be dealt with now, some in the medium term, some in the long term. But I felt it necessary to give a line of sight, so you would know certain things are on deck to come. That's without prejudice to things which may come up, which may just be necessary, or which you may come upon at a later date. So the intention of the government is to give a line of sight, and then to tell you what we will achieve and how we will achieve it. Because some of the things to be achieved require a little bit more than just the government. It may require support or facilitation. It may require financing. What I can tell you is that we're not afraid of the economy, and we're not afraid of how we can manage it. We're very confident that we can. It's time to just return Trinidad to a little bit of discipline. And the great news about this kind of environment that we're in is that productivity and efficiency become real and important factors for people to appreciate. Having a job is a privilege. Earning an income is a privilege. Doing it to the best of your ability is not only a requirement, but it's also a privilege. Time to re-encourage that position. We are a country that has a conversation about buying a car for our Prime Minister that is 9 years old, that somebody else in the corporate sector would have sold, and you would have had a return on that attributed somewhere else. But that's the way we talk these days, because sometimes I think politicians themselves have devalued their own worth, and that there's a need all over the years, and there's a need to now return to trying to bring the standards up a little bit. May I invite just 2 more persons to the mic? 3 more persons to the mic. I'm very conscious that we have kept the Commissioner of Police, Prisons, and members of the panel here for 5.5 hours now, or 5 hours, and you, which I'm very grateful for, because God forbid we should be speaking to ourselves. So may I ask firstly the gentleman at front, then the lady at the middle, and the lady at the back, please. Yes, sir.
Pleasant good night, all protocol observed. My name is Andrew Douglas, and I have been in the prison system for 26 years. I would like to just stand in the gap on behalf of lifers and 75 years inmates. There are lifers and 75 years inmates who have transformed their lives in the prison system, who are making meaningful and positive contribution to the prison system, and by extension, younger people on the outside, because I am also a mentor, thanks to the Commissioner of Prisons and the other officers that is instrumental to my development. I would like to ask on behalf of some of the guys who heard that I was coming here, some of them would like a sentence in review. These are guys who have been in the system even longer than I, 30-something years. And they are asking, like, where's the hope? Where's the chance? Where's the opportunity to be back with their families? Some of their families has passed on. Some of the children have passed on. And they are asking for an opportunity to get another chance in life. They have recognized that they have done wrong. We are sorry for what we have done. It is sad that prison have to allow us to understand the mistakes that we have made, because we probably never used to listen. However, we are asking for opportunity to be heard, opportunity to have a resentencing review. I, on the other hand, am asking if it's possible that I can be granted a pardon to help to contribute to the development of my country. I have a resume here in the presence of my hand where I have contributed to the development of myself and, by extension, the prison service. And I believe that I could do more. I reached as far as Tobago a couple of weeks ago to encourage the young people to make transformation in their life. And don't be like me, to come into the prison system to obtain these things. But I believe I have a contribution. I believe that I can help in what has taken place in the development of our country. I am now a patriot. I thank God that I am now a patriot. And I just want to say that I am sorry for my crime. But I really need your help to assist. Because I know I was there. I was in gang. I know the life. I know why the young people is hurting. One more thing. I'm also part of Rise Maximum Radio. We have a radio station in the prison. And we are trying our best to work feverishly, with younger people as well. We also would like to get the radio extended to broadcast outside, in other prisons and outside, because thus far it's only at maximum security prison, women prison, off and on ECRC. But we have guys in there have messages to help transform our nation. So I'm asking that these developments take place so that we can help in the development of transforming our country. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sue. Very powerful. And just to let you know, Mr. Douglas, I will certainly be looking, as I told Ms. De Leon a little while ago, very closely at the things that I am already paying attention to. Thank you very much, sir, for contributing. Yes, ma'am.
Good night, everyone. I'm Charmin Antoine, and my concern is there are so many persons in the remand system spending so much time, and I would like to know if that cannot be used as an opportunity to have them involved in activities that would help to reform them even before they go before the court system. If you have persons who may have, it is alleged that they have criminal intent, and you have them idle, they are not involved in anything positive, then they would only get together just as a gang on the outside and get into further activities. So can't it be made mandatory that once the person is being held, that they are probably taught life skills, given psychiatric evaluation, and other activities that can keep them active and also help to keep them out of what we may call mischief? Other than that, you are looking at reform in the prison system. And we have situations, we have many officers within the system who are very good officers, do the job, but then you would have the one or two who may be on the other side. With the prison reform, would things be put in place to deal with the officers who would have the tendency not to deal with the prisoners according to the laws? The men in black who would go in, do the searches, brutalize the prisoners, would that be dealt with?
Thank you, ma'am. I would just like to tell you that the best way to enable focus on some of the bad elements and how you find a solution is very often to remove the things which mask it. So clearing capacity in remand has to be a paramount concern so that you could narrow down issues and have more visibility of what's wrong and what's required in terms of solution. I think that that's a perspective everybody shares and that we wish to put in on this occasion, and again for the next 52 months, hopefully. I'm the enabler, together with Minister of National Security and the government, for those purposes, and we intend to focus upon it strenuously. With the host of recommendations made by my colleagues, I can tell you that we all know some of the things which need to be done, and some of them will be done with urgency. The utilization of manpower and rehabilitative and basically making sure that idle hands don't do the wrong work is a focus that is shared by the enablers, the government, and also the prisons service, and that's something that is a very high priority on our agenda. May I, with that, ask the last contributor, the young lady standing at the back, to give us her name and make her contribution.
Hello, good night. My name is Ann McAllister. I'm here on behalf of my son, who is at the maximum prison for the past 7 years. He's on a murder case. The witness that they had in the matter, he told a lie. He came to court and he admitted to the magistrate that he had lied, and he tried to inveigle another person in the incident, right? And nothing really came out of it. They sent the matter to the appeal, not the appeal court, the assizes. I don't know when that will be. And what I would like to find out is what could be done about that. Because,
Do you know, does your son have a lawyer, ma'am?
Yes, he had a lawyer, but the matter has completed in the lower court and it's sent to the assizes.
Okay, well, it's important to remember these matters require legal advice. If you don't have a lawyer, the legal aid advice and authority is also available as an option, as are potentially people who may be prepared to do the matter as a matter of public service, who are lawyers at the bar. So I'd recommend that you contact both the legal aid and also the law association to see if there is any assistance that they could give that way. But we have to go through the process. That's why we call it due process, so that the story can receive the correct attention in the correct process to get it done. You heard Mr. Prasad speak a little while ago about how he's dealt with some of those issues himself. So that's just an example.
I also have another matter.
Yes, ma'am.
His daughter died at the YMCA pool on the 2nd of June. Will be 2 years, and nothing never came out of it. No investigation, nothing at all. So I don't know what is going on in this country.
Do you know if there was a coroner's inquest that was ordered?
The last thing I know is that her mother went to the DPP, and he said that the information didn't leave the, I think his headquarters or whatever, the police station, to come to his office. So now he will be investigating it to see what could happen.
Well,
and it's over 2 years, nearly 2 years.
I need to also suggest again that this is something that an attorney would have to assist you with if you really want to deal with it in an accelerated way. I'm just giving you the direct answer to it. There are things which don't appear to be working, which you have experienced already, which is where you go directly, and because of volume or lack of information, it can't move faster. So the simple position would be for you to see an attorney to assist you, because with that advocacy, it could help. Thank you very much, ma'am.
All right. Yeah,
ladies and gentlemen, may I, with your permission, firstly extend a warm and hearty thank you, not only to the many persons who have contributed this afternoon. It is not to be underestimated that the Commissioner of Police and the Commissioner of Prisons and the heads of various authorities have a very precious watch on their time. To have spent as long as they have with us this afternoon is an exceptional mark of service and contribution for the people of Trinidad and Tobago. If we could just extend that thank you to them. May I extend a thank you as well to the members of the audience who have stayed for as long as you have to assist us in having a public consultation. There can be no consultation that is public without a public. To the members of the Secretariat of the Attorney General's Office, led no less than by the very large personality, if not in stature, of my permanent secretary, Mrs. Ingrid Siratan. I wish to express a very heartfelt thank you for facilitating this exercise, and to the Port of Spain City Corporation for graciously allowing us the opportunity to use this hall. And I'd like to end by saying a very, very, very special thanks to the persons who are inmates who have come here this afternoon, facilitated by the Commissioner of Prisons and the prisons officers who have come. I would just like to tell you that you have provided a dimension of consideration that is invaluable. And I wish to thank the Commissioner of Prisons specifically for allowing that to be seen. Far too often the bad news is spread and the good news is untold, unsung, and uncelebrated. So may I end by thanking you particularly for this. You can look forward to the Ministry of the Attorney General's website hosting all of the information that we have. There will be a portal for continued communication there. The next consultation which we intend to do is on the criminal justice system, which is directly associated with this. The third consultation will be on money laundering corruption, and asset forfeiture, because we have that work ready and set for delivery. So, ladies and gentlemen, God bless you all, and thank you so much for your participation. I wish you a safe journey home.